y'all, and welcome to the Healthy by Heather Brown podcast, where I encourage you in healthy mind, body, and spirit through my Sunday reset. Let's get into it. Here at the Healthy by Heather Brown show, we're on a mission to help women take back their health, mind, body, and spirit God's way. No woo-woo, new age fluff, or mainstream nonsense. In a world pushing quick fixes and burnout, we're choosing real wellness, intentional living, and faith-filled confidence. This show is for you, sister, and it's made possible by this incredible community. If you believe in this mission, here's how you can help. 1, pause and leave a 5-star review. It's free and makes a huge impact. Share with a bestie who needs this message. 3, support the mission financially. Every little bit helps. Links for PayPal and Venmo are in the show notes. Let's rise up and change the culture, showing the world what healthy, empowered, faith-filled women really look like. Okay, girl gang, you know I don't bring on just anyone to talk about what's trending in the health world, but today's guest is about to blow your mind with what's really behind the methylene blue craze, why America might be biohacking all wrong, and how to finally sleep like your nervous system was designed to. He was recommended to me as a guest by Dr. John Palmer, my chiro and naturopath that you guys have heard on the podcast many times. I will link his prior episodes down in the show notes because they are just a wealth of information. And I asked Dr. John if he could join us today, so he may pop in halfway through the episode and we'll just welcome him in with open arms like we always do. So make sure that you just buckle up because this is just going to be so good. I cannot freaking wait. So with all that said, oh my gosh, hi, Dr. Scott Sherr. Welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Heather.
Absolutely. Dr. Scott, tell everybody a little bit about just your life. I was just hearing you're a dad of 4. You love health and wellness. Like, how'd you get there?
Yeah. What's the short story? So I'm the son of a chiropractor. So somebody that was very out of the box since I was alive, getting adjusted when I was first born. And so I got a very much an alternative medicine education as a child without getting an education because that was my life. I didn't know that regular doctors existed. I didn't know that like you had to go to doctors to get medicine. I didn't need any of that stuff for a long time because I was raised on like organic and like all these other kinds of things that nobody else was doing in the 1980s. So it was kind of a cool upbringing in some ways as a result of that. And so I got more involved in health and wellness personally as like in a professional way after I finished medical school, actually. But I actually decided to go to medical school with the idea that I could try to bridge the gap between prevention, between like alternative and let me try that again. So I could try to bridge the gap between the alternative world that I grew up in and the conventional world that I was getting trained in. And I actually got the conventional training thinking, well, if I'm conventionally trained, people will take me more seriously. And because the problem what I saw with my dad when I was a kid is that, being a chiropractor, it was not like it is today. Like it was very much an alternative thing and it was not looked upon highly by the conventional world at all. So having the ability to talk out of both sides of my mouth was fantastic. And so I really enjoyed getting the medical training, but I really dove into the alternative world relatively quickly after I finished medical school and got involved in my own clinical care and clinical practice outside of the hospital, working with patients in a lot of different ways and really kind of evolved into a way where I work with people very integratively in my own health optimization practice, bringing a lot of different types of modalities inside of that practice, everything from supplements, things like Methylene Blue that we'll talk about, to laboratory testing, modalities like hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and the list goes on. But really a comprehensive way of working with people that is focused on health optimization, focused on optimizing people's health. And as you optimize people's health, you see them get better, obviously, but it takes time. And so as you're kind of working on that process, you need to bring in things to the mix so that you can help people along the way, things like supplements, tools, technologies, practices, and things like that.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, Dr. Scott, you're speaking to, me and my audience so much because that is one thing that we were talking about. I actually was just talking with Dr. John about this yesterday. I was like, man, it's so difficult when, for instance, I was getting lymphatic drainage done at his office here in Birmingham, and they had told me that one of the side effects of that could be that it could actually make you spot in between your periods or what have you. You can have different, things going on. Well, I went into my traditional gynecologist office for my annual checkup and I told them that and they were like, and what is lymphatic drainage? And I was like, oh gosh, I don't really feel like I'm the best person to educate you on this, but I'll try to tell you as best I can. And he's like, okay, well, we probably should look into that. You know what I mean? So it's just, that is such a cool thing that you have going for you and your practice, that you know so well both sides of the spectrum. So man, that's incredible.
Yeah, I can talk out of both sides of my mouth. That's what I always say. But it's also helpful because I mostly work in the optimization world, mostly working with people trying to optimize their health. And that doesn't mean that people are starting off healthy. It just means that's their journey. But as they're going through that journey, they may need conventional care. They may need to go to the hospital. They may need a consultant, a cardiologist, or whatever it might be. And I can always figure out and integrate myself within that world and know what they're talking about. But the goal for me always is to focus instead of on their diseases and their illnesses. Like everybody has these and everybody has issues, right? That's just the way life is as we get older. But the deal is that there's not that many people out there that are focused on the health of your cells, the health of your body, and keeping it healthy. And chiropractors are sort of like the OGs when it comes to that. And so what I've kind of done in my practice after growing up the son of a chiropractor is kind of operationalize that in my own way using a different framework called health optimization medicine. It was a framework that was founded by a colleague and a friend of mine and a mentor named Dr. Ted, who created this framework and then created a nonprofit organization to train other practitioners on how to do it. And so that's what I use in my clinical practice. That's how I think about it. But you don't think about it in a silo. Everything is happening all at the same time. Of course, people have conditions and illnesses and diseases. Like those are happening. But if you focus on just optimizing cellular health, gut health, neurotransmitter health, you can go a long way with seeing a lot of reversal of those disease, illnesses, and conditions without actually treating them directly. And as you're doing it, you bring in other tools, technologies, and practices. Your methylene blue, your GABAergic things to calm yourself down, your hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and others. As you're doing the whole thing. And that's when you can see like massive improvements in people.
So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into my first real, heavy hitter question for you guys. So everyone's talking about methylene blue, it feels like right now, but most of us have no clue what it actually is. So do you mind breaking it down? And then maybe you want to just tell us why it's so hot right now.
Yeah, sure. So methylene blue is a compound that's been around a long time, over 100 years. It was initially developed and became the first drug that was registered with our FDA back in 1897, so a long, long time ago.
Wow.
And it was designed in a way to help with, initially as a textile dye. So it actually would dye blue jeans blue back in the 1870s. So if you had blue jeans back in the 1870s, they were using this compound to do it. But they found out that somehow this compound itself actually had the capacity to kill bugs. It killed malaria specifically. And so that's how it became the first drug registered with the FDA. But it's had a long history since then. Initially, it was the only antimicrobial around. So it was used for fungal infections, bacterial infections, viral infections. And it still is used that way, but less so because antibiotics and antimicrobials that became prescribed came out in the 1950s and 60s and kind of took its place. The reason why that happened is manifold, but one of the things that methylene blue does when you take it, the higher the dose you take, the more blue your urine is going to be. Because when you take methylene blue, it concentrates in your urine as it comes out.
Whoa.
So you urinate blue. And so there's all these songs about urinating blue back in the 1920s and 30s and 40s. Like even during World War II, the pilots would have songs about peeing blue in the loo, like the loo being the bathroom. And
wow.
So it was a big thing there. But so we really know that like higher doses of methylene blue around, your body weight in kilograms. So like about 1 milligram per kilogram, which is about 150 milligrams of methylene blue or so, like 70 to 150 milligrams of methylene blue is more like for an antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral kind of deal. But we now know that that lower doses like 4 milligrams, 8 milligrams, 6 milligrams, 16 milligrams and such are really good at optimizing a part of our cells called the mitochondria. And mitochondria are the parts of our cells that help us make energy. We have a lot of mitochondria in our body. When we learned about mitochondria in 7th grade and 8th grade, like you would have learned that there was a cell that had like a nucleus and had cytoplasm and it had plastic reticulum and Golgi bodies and a mitochondria. But you learn that in the diagrams only show you one mitochondria. But many, many cells in our body have thousands of mitochondria per each cell. And in fact, the most mitochondria per cell are in the ovaries and testicles and sperm and eggs, actually. And this is one of the reasons why fertility rates have gone down dramatically is because the mitochondria aren't working really well.
Wow.
And we also have a ton in our brain, in our heart, in our liver, our musculoskeletal tissue. And so what happens is when the mitochondria aren't working well, you get brain fog, you get concentration problems, you get inflammation, you get pain, you get issues with exercise-induced fatigue and other things. And so what methylene blue can do, which is quite amazing overall in the mitochondria, this is what we now know over the last couple of decades, is it can help reboot, recharge, and optimize the mitochondria so they work better, okay? And the question is, sort of maybe the question before this is, well, what makes the mitochondria not work very well, right?
Right.
There's a lot of different things out there that don't do well in the mitochondria. Like, big thing out there that like almost all the US population has at this point is insulin resistance. So if you have like prediabetes, if you have diabetes, if your blood sugars are high, there's a lot of stress in your mitochondria. If you take certain medications can do it. So things like proton pump inhibitors, like Prilosec or like omeprazole or Protonix, like those are really bad for the mitochondria overall. Other medications can do it, but also infections can do it. Or if you have like long COVID or like chronic fatigue syndrome with viral reactivations like EBV and others, like these can all cause significant mitochondrial dysfunction. Toxins in our environment, like the pollutants in the air and the water and the food, toxic people can also do it because stress can do it, toxic relationships, all those kind of things. So they all stress the mitochondria. And so then we have this mitochondrial dysfunction and we can't think well. We can't, our concentration's off. Like we have pain, we have this, we have like fatigue, like just doesn't go away. And many of the people that are listening probably have brain fog, probably have concentration problems, probably having issues with some of these things. Exercise-induced fatigue, they can't exercise without getting fatigued. And this is mitochondrial in nature. And so the methylene blue, again, has a fantastic capacity to come into the mitochondria, help rebuild and reboot it, but also help you energize and detox at the same time.
Well, I'm so curious to hear both of your answers on this, and I don't want us to spend too much time on this, but now I'm just so curious. So I feel like moms that are listening to this might be too. When we're talking about, you obviously said you do Western medicine and also you grew up the son of a chiropractor, Dr. John, you're a chiropractor, a naturopath. If someone came in your office and they were like, hey, my kid keeps getting ear infections or sinus infections or strep, or they are themselves, would you ever recommend methylene blue for something like that? Or is that just like completely no, I would not do that?
I can answer first, and then I'm sure John can give his 2 cents. Is that for an acute infection, methylene blue can be actually quite powerful. It might not be the only thing that you use, but I've used it at higher doses for acute infections. So acute viral infections, bacterial infections, fungal infections, especially urinary tract infections. You can use it in that capacity, but that's usually doses that are much higher, somewhere around 75 to 150 milligrams of methylene blue for 3 to 5 days. And that should be done under the supervision of a clinician for sure.
Sure.
But in essence, what you're talking about is like if people are coming in with sort of recurrent infections, recurrent sort of immune system dysregulation, then what I'm thinking about is probably similar to what John's thinking about, is that like what's going on here with the diet, what's going on with the lifestyle, what's going on with, the cellular machinery itself that's causing the potential for these recurrent kinds of infections. Is there a gut issue? So doing some of those kinds of tests. And like when I was a kid, for example, my father would take people off of dairy back in the early 80s, which was unheard of. That's when the got milk advertisements were so big. And so people probably don't remember that, but that's the got milk was back.
Oh, no, I
80s.
do. I remember it.
Okay. Yeah. And so what I saw though, when he took them off the dairy, especially, is like their allergies would get better. They wouldn't get ear infections anymore. They're otherwise like they wouldn't get, these chronic streps or whatever. Like you'd see them not have these recurrent issues. So I think methylene blue can be used acutely for infection, but I also, and for mitochondrial support, but I also, would say that there's, dietary, lifestyle, stress kinds of things that would I be looking at to sort of prevent the chronicity or the continued issues that some people do have on a regular basis, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, I think that's also just going to blow some people's minds, even just hearing you say that, because most people are thinking, well, my kid gets an ear infection, I take him to the doctor and I get an antibiotic, and that's what we do. So I actually personally want to say that we have now helped Finn, our youngest, he's 6, heal from 2 ear infections naturally, no antibiotics, all the things. And
that's my son's name too, by the way, Heather. So.
No way. Oh my gosh, I love it. That's so fun. Love it. So yeah, so I just want to personally say, as a mom who, trusts Dr. John and people that have spoken into my life and here on this podcast, that it can be done without antibiotics. And it's so great to look at other options. Dr. John, how would you answer that question about methylene blue versus maybe other things that you would say for things like a sinus infection or ear infection or what have you?
Yeah, I mean, just like Dr. Scott was saying, is that we will do and look at the behaviors of, or the environment of the host first. And then, gosh, I know for UTIs, which a lot of the nutritional practices, it is mainly women between 35 and 60, not 35. Yeah, 35 and 65 is probably 85% of my nutritional practice. And so UTIs are a discussion, yeast infections are a discussion that we have. So I absolutely put methylene blue in those protocols along with other things. You can do a host of other things. But I mean, just like what Dr. Scott said, I don't know if I can say it any better. He really said what I would have said. So, I mean, I think because the philosophies are very, very similar. He was raised with a dad,
yes,
with pretty much the same philosophy of health, or really, really close. So he took the words right out of my mouth.
I love it so much. That's awesome. Well, that's why you guys are friends. So I see why. So y'all, let's talk then a little bit, pivoting back to methylene blue. You kind of mentioned that it also has to do a lot with chasing focus and energy. So if we're being blunt about that, would you say that people are just chasing the focus and the energy with methylene blue instead of fixing the root cause? And I know, Dr. Scott, you said you're a dad of 4. So I know you need lots of energy. Like, how is that playing out in your life?
I do. Yeah. So my youngest is Finn. That's kind of fun for you.
So great.
You know, I like that. It's an interesting concept, chasing in general, right? So like methylene blue, again, it's working on the mitochondria. It's helping with more energy. It's giving you more resilience, and it can help reboot and recharge the mitochondria, which are the part of your cell that's making all this energy. You asked about the root cause, and that's a really important point, Heather, because when I'm working with people, what I often say is like, look, what methylene blue can do is help you now while you're on the longer path to healing, which can take a while to change your diet, to change your lifestyle, to get on the right supplements, to get out of a toxic relationship and stop yelling at your kids, whatever it might be, and just take that stress down a little bit, right? And so, but as you're going through that process, what are some of the things that can really work to help you along? And methylene blue is probably one of the main things that I use here, because if you start it, and you want to start off at low doses, typically, you don't want to start super high. I start usually at like 4 milligrams or maybe 8 milligrams at most. And then I increase the dose as people start feeling the effects of it. I titrate every 3 to 5 days typically. And so it's helping reboot and give you more energy like right away, but in a very supportive context, because it's helping you with making energy. So it's helping you make energy, but it's also helping you with the detox side of things, because most people don't realize that when you make energy in your cells, you're also making waste products in the cells of making energy. Just like if you're driving a car, you have gasoline, you're burning gas, you're going to have some waste coming out, the exhaust pipe. It's the same thing with the body. And the body has to manage that. And so if you have too much energy going in, you're going to have a lot of waste coming out. And that's, if the body has to be able to balance that. And so methylene blue is amazing because it helps with the energy production. So it makes you go faster, but it also helps with kind of getting and neutralizing that waste at the same time. So you don't get the sort of muck in the system, as it were. So, things keep smoothing and keep running. And so I use it oftentimes. What I say to my patients all the time is like, look, let's get you on some methylene blue now, a small amount of it. And as we optimize your mitochondria, improve your diet, your lifestyle, your stress, all those kinds of things, you don't need to use it as much. You're not going to need it as much to help support you. So oftentimes when people are starting, they need it more. And as they get more optimized, they need it less. And look, are all of us going to be stressed a decent amount of the time? Do all of us live in environments that are not natural to our Paleolithic ancestors when we were living in small groups? Of course. And so if you're on a plane, if you're not sleeping well, if you have a sick kid at the house, I mean, the list goes on, then I do think that there's reasons to use methylene blue as a supportive, even if you're really well optimized. But in general, as you get more optimized, you'll need it less and at less amounts overall, like as far as the dosing goes.
Interesting. I will say, Dr. John, from a personal standpoint, I'd love to ask you this question. So I know that Dr. Sherr, that you use methylene blue a lot. And so I was asking Dr. John, I was like, this is so trendy. Like, should I be using it? What do you think? But I've been working with Dr. John for years now. And so Dr. John, your thought might be like, Heather, we've kind of optimized you. I'm using red light therapy. I'm curious, Dr. John, why would you not recommend it for someone like me? And also, can y'all maybe even delve in a little bit? Like, I know the main thing that I'm using my red light for every day is to help my mitochondria. So is it anything different than what the methylene blue would do for me?
I mean, methylene blue is just going to, paired with red light or or low level light laser or laser therapy is going to increase, it's going to increase the electron chain donation. Isn't that right, Dr. Sherr?
Yeah, they both synergize together, John. So red light, near infrared light, about 680 nanometers or so, it actually donates electrons to the part of the mitochondria that you need to donate to make energy. And methylene blue can do the same thing. So they're basically synergistic. If you take your methylene blue, wait about 45 to 60 minutes, depending on how fast you digest things, then you go in front of your red light panel or you go into sunlight, you're going to feel that extra activation overall.
What about, did you say infrared?
No, near infrared. So
near infrared. Oh, I heard infrared, and I was like, that's very interesting. That didn't make any sense to me, but I was like, maybe he knows something else.
No, unfortunately not. So it's the near infrared light coming from the sun or a red light panel that's at 680 ish.
So Heather, to answer your question, there's nothing in your nutrition that why you would not benefit. You would benefit from it. I always try and titrate how much I can give people or dose people, but it is absolutely something you can try and that would benefit you greatly. It just depends. I think it also depends on when I acquired you as a nutritional client, because I didn't know about Methylene Blue. I think it's been maybe a year, and I had you as a client and you were already started through the protocols before I learned really about Methylene Blue.
For sure.
And then, so it's definitely something that would benefit you. It's pretty much safe for most individuals. Doc, can you ever maybe who would not want to take Methylene Blue?
Great question.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think, Heather, you made a really good point, and I'll talk about that in just a minute, but like there's been a lot of sort of trendy viral nature of Methylene Blue over the last 3 or 4 months. And this all started with RFK, the Human Health Secretary, being filmed taking Methylene Blue on an airplane. So, and as a result of that, and a couple other things, it just kind of went crazy. But the thing about it is that, again, this has been around for a long time, over 100 years, this particular compound. And, my company, the company is called Transcriptions that makes this stuff. We've been around. We were the first company to come out with a commercial product back in 2020.
Wow.
So this is not new news for us. The trendy nature of it is, but we have a lot of clinical experience over the last 5 years that backs up what we're saying and what we're doing. And that's really why I'm so emphatic about the positive nature of it and how it can really help from a mitochondrial perspective. And yes, so what I would say is that, believe the hype, but be careful of the bandwagon, right? In the sense like it's like it's a big deal. I think Methylene Blue can help a lot of people, but be careful about, just taking it without knowing why you're taking it and having more of a sense of like the dosing, especially. So a couple of things to think about when, people who shouldn't maybe think about Methylene Blue initially is that if part of it's depending on the dose, but in general, if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, you shouldn't take Methylene Blue at this point because it's not something you should be doing. When it comes down to some additional other people, Methylene Blue has this capacity of increasing some neurotransmitters in the brain, including serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine. So if you're on medications that increase those neurotransmitters like SSRIs or called SNRIs, so these are some of the newer generation antidepressants, or if you're on a Parkinson's medications, for example, that increase dopamine, there can be an interaction between the Methylene Blue and taking those medications. Now, the risk of this is extremely low, especially if you're taking very low doses of Methylene Blue, like 4, 8, 16 milligrams. And it's very low to have, and it's very, very rare to have any issues. But if you are taking those medications, you should work with the provider if you want to try taking Methylene Blue and add it to your regimen. Now, in addition, there's another group of people that if you have high blood pressure and you have a difficult to control blood pressure, sometimes Methylene Blue will increase blood pressure a little bit. And so it's important that if you do have high blood pressure, that you work with the provider again to make sure your blood pressure is not going up on the compound. Typically, again, starting at low doses is not an issue overall, but you want to watch your blood pressure closely if you have hypertension and you're going to be taking Methylene Blue. If you don't have high blood pressure, it's not going to increase your blood pressure as far as we've been able to tell. In the other hand, there's a group of people that have low blood pressures though that we've seen some benefit though, like people that have like chronically low blood pressure. John, these are POTS patients in general. Like people have they have a difficulty time maintaining their blood pressure when they change position. We've actually had some really good success using Methylene Blue in this particular population overall. And I think it's because it's actually binding up something in circulation called inducible nitric oxide, which is kind of more of a fancy thing. But in essence, the blood vessels can't constrict as well. And so methylene blue seems to be helping even increase the blood pressure in this particular population for a different reason. So
it seems like I didn't know that about POTS patients, but I think it would increase brain mitochondrial function in the brainstem, which would have a lot to do with those blood pressure, heart rate rhythm, respiration rhythm mechanisms, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. When you're coming, I mean, what it comes down to, like any mental health disorder out there, anything that's sort of neurologic in general, like a POTS presentation, is going to have a mitochondrial deficiency or issue that can be addressed by using mitochondrial therapies, right? And one of them could be methylene blue. So, but to sum up on maybe just all the things to think about. So if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, don't take methylene blue. If you're on SSRIs, SNRIs, or dopaminergic drugs like for Parkinson's, then it's not an absolute no, but you should work closely with a provider. Same thing with blood pressure medications, not an absolute no, but work closely with a provider. And the other piece of it is just the dosing. So the higher the dose of methylene blue, the more that it's going to cause potential issues with the blood pressure with SSRIs and SNRIs. But low doses, like the 4, 8, 16 milligrams, again, are very rare, but also just being aware that there could be a potential interaction there too.
So what about someone that has potential, and obviously, once again, like you said, you want to make sure that you have someone walk you through this, like a healthcare practitioner, if you're having like depression or anything like that. But what if they don't? What if someone wants to go on your site before I forget, one thing that I thought was really important and where you guys really impressed me as a company, as you talked about the purity and the location and also the quote unquote freshness of the product. And I think I talked to, is it Boomer?
Yeah, Boomer CEO.
So I talked to Boomer, and he was very informative. But he was talking about the quality, the purity, the looking for heavy metals, but also I wanted you to go over that. I didn't want to forget about that. But primarily, if someone just wants to go and try it, let's say they don't do or use a healthcare professional, can they use your products? And then what are the benefits of going to seek out a professional so they don't hit or they don't trend in those gray areas and get themselves in any danger?
Yeah, great question, John. I mean, so I think I love what you asked about the purity and potency, and it really goes along with what Heather was asking and what you were asking about, like who the people are that shouldn't be taking methylene blue. As a corollary to that is making sure you're taking good quality methylene blue, because it's a synthetic ingredient. It's not a natural compound. It's made in the lab. And if it's not made well, it can get contaminated with heavy metals like lead, mercury, cadmium, and arsenic, which nobody wants, of course. And so when we were making the products initially, we were very emphatic about making the cleanest stuff possible. We've had to throw out thousands of dollars worth of supply over the years.
Wow.
We didn't meet our specifications. And we're the only team out there that has 4 docs on the team supervising the production and the overseeing the education, compared to any other product company out there that's making methylene blue. I mean, so methylene blue, as I also should mention, after it sort of became out of favor as an antimicrobial in the 1950s, it became more in favor in the world of aquariums. So if anybody's listening, they may have used methylene blue in their fish tanks, and that's still something you can find. If you go to a fish tank store and you're looking for fish tank cleaner, you're going to see methylene blue as one of the ingredients. Now, please don't use that yourself. That is for fish and often contaminated. Okay. And so that's just something I just have to make aware of. But even if you go online and you look at some of the companies that are making methylene blue, even if it has something called the USP, which is supposedly a pharmaceutical grade formula, a lot of these are still contaminated. And then the other problem with them is that, like a lot of liquids out there, and we make a very special form called a troche. It's like a dissolvable lozenge that can either be put in the mouth or swallowed. The liquids out there, none of them are as potent as they say on the label, and it's very difficult to dose. They say it's in a dropper, and you have to drop it in your mouth, and it's like you don't know exactly how much you're taking. You can get all over the place. It's the other thing about methylene blue is that it's a very strong dye, and so it's going to your surface, your cabinets, your countertops. Like if you're not careful with it, it will stain them.
Wow.
So
what about your face?
Yeah, in your mouth too, but that goes away. That goes away. But I've saved my marriage at least twice because I have buffered vitamin C at the house. So it's vitamin C powder. And so if you get any methylene blue on like countertops and sinks or in your washing machine, which I've done before.
Oh,
You
my
can use-
word.
Oh yeah. It's a thing. You can scrub it with buffered vitamin C if you find it very quickly, and it comes out very quickly. So again, I've saved my marriage a couple times because of that. But the liquids get everywhere compared to like our delivery system is called a troche at Triscriptions, and it's like this dissolvable lozenges. It's called a buccal troche, so it stays between your upper cheek and gum. But you can just swallow it as well on an empty stomach. If you dissolve it in your mouth, which is John was alluding to, your mouth will turn blue, and it's quite blue, and it's not for everybody. What I would say is that most people can swallow it and get the same effect. However, if you have more of a brain fog concentration issue, you may want to try to dissolve it in your mouth, because I have found that people dissolve in their mouth do feel better when they do that faster. Because the nice thing about dissolving it in your mouth is that it doesn't have to go through digestion. It doesn't have to be through your esophagus and your stomach and your small intestine overall. But John, just to finish up to answer your question about, is it better to work with a provider or to kind of do this on your own? My opinion always here is it's better to work with a provider, as you know. And John and I think we both agree, like whenever you're starting supplements and getting on regimens, like the danger that you have, we all do, even myself personally. And I'm not speaking for John, but I would bet like, oh, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. Like, let's see how this goes. Like, but if you don't have a foundation to kind of everything is grounded upon, then it's sometimes hard to know where you're going, where you're coming from,
I did not start taking it until I sought out a professional, and you were the actual professional. So,
Gotcha.
So I didn't think you knew when I met you at Nutrition Standard Seminar in Missouri. I think I came up to the table probably 5 times. I just kept asking you questions.
I remember. Yeah.
So, yeah. So
fun.
Well, that's because you're coming from that way.
Yeah. And I do want to say, to y'all's point, that unfortunately, y'all, the way that we are marketed to as Americans, and even big pharma, that they can even like advertise to us online and, on commercials and those kind of things, it is so hard as a consumer to know what you should actually be taking, why, the dosage. And y'all, I love some Amazon, and I know y'all do too. But unfortunately, a lot of
Not
the
for supplements, please.
supplements are terrible quality on Amazon. Nobody's really supervising it. So please listen to me and hear me say that Dr. John has actually helped me save money, because I'm then not spending money on all these additional supplements that I don't really need, but the marketing got me. You know what I mean?
It happens all the time, Heather. And like we all get that bludgeoning on a day-to-day basis, right? So it's hard. So I think, yes, I would, if in a perfect world, people are working with a provider that's supporting them, and then they can start using things like Methylene Blue while they're doing the diet, lifestyle, and other kinds of things. But we know it's not a perfect world. And the beautiful thing about Methylene Blue is that it is very safe at low doses, and you can really add it on and start seeing how you feel. And what I found is that it can be like a cornerstone habit, like exercise. Like once you start feeling a little bit better, exercising, like everything else starts getting better in your life. It's like taking a little bit of Methylene Blue, then your energy's better, your focus is a little bit better. Like, oh, I can go take a walk around the block. I can finally find that doctor that I've been looking for to help me. And so as long as you don't fall into categories of being, unsafe, like you're taking medications that would be interacting with it, you're pregnant or breastfeeding, then usually it's quite okay, especially if you start at low doses. Like, Unfortunately, a lot of the other companies have much higher milligram dosages than we do. And I find that gets people into trouble because it's too much Methylene Blue too quickly. The body has a hard time taking care of it as a result of a couple different things. But in general, like the detox side of things can get kind of nasty if you take it too high of a dose too quickly. And so people can get like those detox kind of symptoms. They could get more brain fog. They can get GI disruptions. They can get more joint pain. And so you don't want to do that. Like you want to start off at like a low dose, 8 milligrams. And that's what we do at Triscriptions. We have a product called Just Blue, which is 16 milligrams of Methylene Blue, but it's scored, or it's got quadrants. So you can take 1 quadrant, 2 quadrants, 3 or 4, and you can kind of titrate your dose to see what you need. And then you go slowly, like those detox symptoms don't tend to be as much of an issue at all.
Awesome. Okay. So you guys, this is so much good information about Methylene Blue, and I think that it's really going to help some people out. However, I have to pivot us just slightly before we run out of time. Dr. Scott, Dr. John told me that I couldn't let you get away without asking you about sleep. So tell us what your pro tips about sleep are that every tired mom needs to know.
Oh man. Well, sleep is for quitters, right? This is what I used to tell I had shirts in medical school with my friends that said that, actually. So you'll sleep when you're dead. That's like the American way. But
well,
no,
and
please.
the doctor's way. Like, I'm like, what they put you guys through is insane.
Yeah. And that's why we got the shirts, right? Because that's really how it felt being in medical school and residency. Like, you don't get time to sleep. I did 30-hour shifts every 4 nights for a number of years. Thank God that's not what you need to do now. Like, they've changed the rules, and new residents aren't going through that same process, thankfully. But sleep is something that my colleague, Dr. Ted, that I was mentioning earlier, that started our nonprofit, he said something to me a couple of years ago that really helped me, and maybe it'll help some of the people that are listening, is that your day starts when you go to sleep, not when you wake up. So if you think of sleep as the first thing you do every day, rather than the last thing you do every day, then you just start thinking about the priorities and switching them as to how important sleep is. So because most of us are like, yeah, I'll sleep when I get a chance. But then it's 10 o'clock, it's 11, it's 12, like it gets late, and then like, shit, I got to get to sleep, right? And so if you start reframing your idea of when sleep is the most important thing really is sleep, because you need to sleep. That's how your body is going to rest. It's going to detox. It's going to get you ready for the next day. We all know what it feels like to not sleep well. Where we can't regulate our emotions. Our immune system is all messed up. We start yelling at everybody. We have a higher risk of things like dementia and other cardiovascular disease, immune system diseases if we don't get enough sleep. So my tips for sleep, number one, is definitely think of sleep as the first thing you do every day rather than the last. If you're a check mark person checking things off for the day, I have those lists sometimes too. Then, that you check off, you went to bed, you already did something. Congratulations.
Yes.
And now you woke up and it's nice rock and roll, right? So I always like the idea of two lists, a to-do list and a done list, right? So not just making sure you checked everything else, but a done list.
Heck yeah.
First thing you did, you slept. So good. So the other thing that's really important for sleep is to have a sleep routine, making sure that you're doing the same thing every night before you go to bed for like about 15 to 20 minutes before you go to bed, if at all possible. And that should not be on a screen. Okay. This should be this should be off all electronics as much as possible. And then if you can create like a routine around sleep, like for me, it could be long or it could be short depending on the situation. But have you heard of Pavlov and his dog before?
Oh, yes. But for our readers our listeners that haven't, describe it quickly. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do, and with my patients and myself, is create a Pavlovian response, which means that the Pavlov dog's experiment is that you ring a bell, you give a dog food, the dog eats the food, he salivates while he's eating the food, right? Eventually you start ringing the bell, you don't give food, and the dog still salivates, right? And that's called the Pavlovian response. Your body is responding to a routine, even if you don't have all of those things in the same order, but you have a couple sort of leveraged things. In this case, it was a bell for the dog. For me, it's a routine of sleep that requires just like 15 minutes or so off screens, a little bit of stretching, a little bit of meditation, and every night it's the same thing. And also the same time as much as possible. And waking up at the same time as well. So many of us on the weekends will try to sleep more. That can actually mess us up during the week if we do that, if we're trying to get the same amount of sleep every night and then trying to go to bed the same time every night. But the other thing, Heather, this is so important, is that winding down after your kids go to bed, alcohol is not your friend.
Preach.
Okay.
Yes.
The glass of wine that becomes 2, that becomes a half a bottle, like this is messing up your sleep. Now, I understand why, okay? Because alcohol, what it does is it leverages a system in our body called the GABA system. GABA is a neurotransmitter in our brain that helps us calm down. It relaxes the firing of our brain. So, question for you. You guys can both answer this. On average, how many thoughts do you think you have every single day?
Oh my gosh. It's going to be high for me because I'm an entrepreneur and I'm kind of squirrel brained anyway. And I'm a 3 on the Enneagram, just a go-getter. So I'm like, maybe a million, half a million. I don't know, a ton. You
guys are the first 2 people to overestimate the number of thoughts you have per day. Almost everybody's like maybe 1,000. So like on average, it's about 70,000 thoughts per day that we have. And if you're stressed, if you're anxious, or you're depressed, 120,000 thoughts per day. Now, it doesn't mean that every single thought is different, right? You can be thinking the same thought over and over again. If you're depressed, you're thinking about being depressed all the time. But again, so this is a PSA or public service announcement. Don't believe everything that you think, okay? Because we all think crazy things all the time. No doubt about it. And so what the GABA system it helps regulate the amount of thoughts that you have. It calms them down, it quiets your mind. And so if your mind is overactive before you go to bed, it's hard to go to bed. And everybody's had this experience where their mind's racing, like they just can't go to bed. And but if you can modulate the GABA system in a natural way, you can find actual ways of calming down the nervous system without trashing your sleep. And so, alcohol is not the way to do it. So at our company at Transcriptions, we created a couple different things that leverage the GABA system. One called TroCalm, which helps with just down-regulating the nervous system. You can take it during the day because it doesn't make you tired. It has something called kava in it. Many people have heard of kava before. It's a relaxing plant from the South Pacific. Pacific Islanders use it a lot of time. And that also has CBD and CBG, some non-psychoactive cannabinoids. But these are all leveraging the GABA system in a very comprehensive way to help quiet your mind, take that edge off. And so everybody knows that feeling where like their mind is like almost blank because it's so stressed. They can't remember their lines if they're like on a stage or like in front of people, like you're worried you're going to forget what you have to say. Your brain is so hyper aroused that your frontal lobe, where you get like your executive function, where things like your ability to sort of synthesize and make thoughts work, like that all gets shut down. So, but if you can calm down the nervous system just a little bit, your brain turns back online. And so what we often say, and you'll like this, is that what TroCalm can do is help you optimize everything from the boardroom to the bedroom. And the bedroom is to relax for sleep and quiet your mind, but also for the guys out there, some performance anxiety, right?
There you
go. Performance anxiety. So to get technical, an erection is parasympathetic. So it's relaxing to get an erection overall, but ejaculation is actually sympathetic. So if you're too stressed, you may become sympathetic too soon. And you know what happens when that happens, right?
Right.
So performance anxiety, de-stress, TroCalm, actually a number of reports of very happy couples taking TroCalm as a result.
Well, there you go, girl gang. See,
I know,
we just did a whole season. When this comes out, we will have just finished the marriage season. So we talked a lot about like that kind of stuff. So I'm like, okay, great. I love it. Another resource.
Yeah. So you have to regulate your GABA system before you go to bed. And you want to do this not only before you go to bed, throughout the day, like not only always being stressed on, but have times when you're off, you're relaxed, you're breathing, calming down as well. But in essence, for sleep, the GABA system has to be more on the elevated side so that you can calm down those thoughts, that you can maintain your sleep overall. And so for a sleep routine, same time at night, same routine before you go to bed, off your screens. You don't want to eat too late as well. And then modulating your GABA system without the alcohol is the way to go.
Okay. This is so good. I love this. And I've been on a journey to try to really cut out alcohol a lot. And it's so wild now how I used to be able to have like a glass or two of wine at night. And now I can literally have one glass of wine at supper club or something because I'm, like out of my rhythm. And I'm like, I'm going to do this for fun or what have you. And now I'll get a headache before I even go to bed. I don't even have a buzz. So now I'm just like, well, what's the point of having alcohol? It's not fun anymore at all.
So do you know why you get a headache there?
No, why?
So you get a headache because what happens is that when alcohol comes into the brain, it binds to the GABA receptor super tightly, and it basically increases the amount of GABA that your body or your brain consumes. Okay, as a result of you consuming a lot of GABA, there's a balance in the brain with another neurotransmitter called glutamate. Glutamate is your primary excitatory neurotransmitter. It keeps you on, focused, ready to go, and it's always in balance with your GABA, actually. So glutamate in the brain actually gets converted into GABA, interestingly enough. There's always a balance there. And so if you deplete your GABA very, very quickly, you have all this glutamate that's available and doesn't have that balance. And so you're getting glutamate overload, glutamate symptoms of toxicity, mild, that are causing headaches, causing irritability, causing mood irregularity.
Wow.
So you're getting this. So if you've ever been to a Chinese restaurant and had MSG in your food, monosodium glutamate, this is called the MSG syndrome. Like people go and like feel irritable, they can't sleep. This is glutamate toxicity and GABA deficiency. And so many people, Heather, are walking around with GABA deficiency because of stress, because of multiple issues like micronutrients and things like B vitamin deficiencies and magnesium and things like that. And so they're GABA deficient, so they have a higher risk of having conditions or symptoms related to glutamate overload, including anxiety, including insomnia, even depression as well, because depression is an overactive mind too. And so GABA deficiency is a big deal. It's hard for, John and I to actually diagnose that by laboratory testing, but you can actually diagnose it by clinical testing or clinical, taking a good clinical history and then supporting the GABA system with magnesium, with B6 that help that conversion from glutamate to GABA, but also supporting the GABA system by enhancing it naturally with compounds that can enhance GABA, like your kavas and CBD and CBG and the things like we have in Trocom and in Troz, our sleep product, can be super, super helpful.
So one of the things that's really good for the listeners is if you have digestive issues, constipation or diarrhea, your neurotransmitters in your brain and throughout your body are going to be compromised. So that's also the supplements that Dr. Scott's talking about are going to be beneficial for those things, but also preemptively while you're working on it, as he described before, will help you almost bridge a gap from that dysfunction to function. While you're taking those, you should also be working on those other things so you fix the long-term problem and not just patch care that with a supplement or a medication or whatever.
100%, John, and thank you for saying it.
Well, y'all, we are quickly running out of time, so I'm going to kind of rapid fire with you guys just the last few questions, if you don't mind. But let's say really quickly, what is something that you each know to be true about optimizing the body, but mainstream medicine still ignores or dismisses it? And if one of you wants to take it the sleep route or one of you wants to take it more generic, I think that'd be so fascinating to hear.
What comes to me so acutely, Heather, here is cellular medicine. So when I mean by cellular medicine, I mean that I'm not focused on organs like your brain, your heart, your liver. I'm focused on how your cells are working and optimize. Do you have the ability to make energy effectively? Do you have the capacity to detox from the energy that you make? Cellular medicine is really precision medicine in my estimation here, because it is the foundation of everything that we do. So if our cells are working well, no matter what tissue those cells are in, they're going to be working well as well. So if it's the case of the mitochondria, we're looking at something like Methylene Blue to help you, of course, but we're also looking at testing to really see how we can dial in mitochondrial function and your lifestyle and your diet and stress and relationships that all kind of go together. So I think mainstream medicine is so focused on the heart, the liver, the organology of everything. Mm-hmm. What we do at our nonprofit is look at something called, it's a big word, it's called holobiontology. All that means is the holobiont is like your holoorganism. It's all of you. It's like your aura. It's like all the bacteria, fungus, and virus that are inside of you, all the food, the microbes, everything that as human cells, we are at a minority compared to everything else that is in and around us. And so we are this ecosystem. And so I would love medicine, and we have hopes maybe with the new administration, that will have more of a focus on cellular medicine and holobiontology, big word, but basically the whole organism that is you, rather than you just being a part of a population of other people. No, you're a population within yourself overall. Wow. So using things like Methylene Blue and GABAergic supplements, these are all really great, and we use these as a way to modulate that holobiont that is you. That's the idea.
That's so good. Dr. John?
Yeah, I'm going to go. I mean, like I said, the philosophies are very, very similar. Gosh, the things and the conveniences we have in a modern culture, like breads, dairy, water, minerals, all the basics we have access to, just educating yourself on just one specific thing that I can think of right away that more people in America and just across the world really need to understand is truly how fat metabolism and glucose metabolism works. So glucose metabolism is going to be the things that you eat, and then fat metabolism is going to be when we fast, you get a more clarified version of that fat metabolism. But also when those energy systems work, that is the foundation of anything that happens in your body. And so when you take supplementation, you do anything extra to it, it's just going to work more specifically. But eating clean is going to be something you don't have to have a degree for. So I had a mentor that told me one time, he said, if you can sit it on the counter and it doesn't mold, it most likely should not be going in your body. So
yes,
one of the, and I still reference that in my brain every day, and I still use it as an educational tool to my clients every day, because I was telling someone just the other day, I forget how far my brain has come since I went through schooling, and I have to constantly remind myself, I didn't know what side my liver was on. I remember thinking when I learned, I'm talking about the very beginning, my journey when I was a chef, wherever I was in my life.
Sure.
someone said, "Hey, your liver, blah, blah, blah." I didn't know where it was. I didn't know if it was on my left or my right. I didn't care.
Is it on the right? I'm like, tell us.
Yes, it's on the right.
It's on the right.
It's on the right.
Yep.
For most people.
So those educational things, those simple things really make a big difference when people can take the things that they're putting in their body, the choices they're making on a regular basis. I would say that's the most impactful thing to just impact sleep, impact digestion, impact mood, impact anything that you do, any like relationships, period, is clean up diet, hydrate, get minerals being salt, not, when I say salt, I mean sea salt, not Morton's. Oh, wait, we can't say Morton's, table salt. But then you get into the next level of that, and then learning all the cool things like Methylene Blue and just, I mean, the list goes on and on. But hey, Doc, before we get off, can you talk about travel? And I know this might be too much. And if it is, we might have to have part 2. Travel and why Trommune Plus or Trommune is really good for boosting your immune system in a temporary fashion, so you don't catch something in the airport or when you're traveling. Because that's something that I know that a lot of Heather's client base, they're going, I mean, everyone travels, but you have a lot of people that get on airplanes on a regular basis.
For sure.
And I think I use it literally personally every time I travel. Anytime anyone has an international or a longer flight or just a flight period, I suggest it 4 to 3 days before they travel. And then if you'll just briefly touch on that, I think that would be, it's a very useful tool to have in your tool belt.
Amazing.
At home.
I could do it in 1 minute or 2 minutes later. And so thanks for bringing it up, John. We have another product at Transcriptions called Trommune. As John was just mentioning, it is a high-strength version of the cordyceps mushroom. It's a extract of the mushroom called cordycepin, which is extremely powerful. And it's an immune system enhancer. It increases deep sleep. It decreases inflammation. So you take it at night, and it is like a game changer, especially when you travel or if you have sick kids at home. Like, I didn't get sick for a whole year when we were testing this, and I have 4 kids in my house. They were getting sick and they were snotting all over me, and you know how it goes. And I didn't get anything. I had made sure I had the Trommune on board, and you take it in the evenings when you have a higher risk, or you could take it prophylactically as well, longer term. But in general, you just kind of take it when you're going to be at a higher risk of getting sick. And so it's a fantastic product. It just has that one ingredient in it, and it's called Trommune, and has cordycepin, which is this really cool, very rare compound in the mushroom, but it is fantastic.
Amazing. Well, great job quickly summing that up. I definitely need to check that out before I go. Dr. John, I'm going to have to get that from you before I go to Greece for my 40th. So y'all, let's wrap up here. I know women are going to just have their minds blown by this episode and really get so much out of it. I'm so grateful for the time that both you guys took out of your schedules to connect. Will you tell everybody in closing how they can find you online or in person, number 1? Number 2, where can they get a hold of these supplements that you guys are talking about? And number 3, maybe if there's just anything that you want to say in closing as an encouragement to a mom who feels overwhelmed with where to start in health.
I can go first, John. So again, Heather, thanks for having me. This has been a lot of fun to be here. So my name is Dr. Scott Sherr. You guys know that. The company is called Transcriptions, Proscriptions. You can find us on the web. You can find us on Instagram. We have a number of different products. We've talked about a lot of them here, including Just Blue, which is our pure methylene blue, low strength. That's available to everybody. We talked about TroCalm for relaxation, TroZ for sleep as well. So TroZ is a fantastic comprehensive sleep aid. And so we have Trommune that we talked about briefly at the end there. That's also really great for immune system support. And so if you're interested in learning more about the products, you can go to transcriptions.com. You can go on Instagram at Transcriptions. If you want to learn more about me and the work that I do in my own clinical practice and the work otherwise, it's at Dr. Scott Sherr on Instagram, at DrScottSherr. I do a lot of posting there, and I try to really, my goal is really to educate. That's what I try to do. I have my own clinical practice outside of Boulder, Colorado, where I see people mostly via telemedicine. So if you're interested, you could just message me on Instagram, or I do have a website as well. I think it's integrativehbot.com, which is more related to some of the hyperbaric oxygen work that I do. But it's
that will be part 2, Dr. Scott. We'll have to have a part 2 on hyperbaric stuff. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. And I think your final question was sort of advice for the ladies and for the moms. Look, I'm married to an amazing one. I'm very lucky to have a partner, but it's not easy overall. And I think that my main advice as a parent overall is just it's so easy, but it's so complicated in the sense of just trying to relax. And what I mean by that is like everything our kids do, they're not trying to piss us off. They're just trying to be kids. They're just trying to do what they're evolutionary programmed to do. So their response to you does not require a reaction from us. And this is something that's taken me a long time to figure out. But if you can just wait like 2 seconds, like typically that feeling that you want to just scream at your child or your husband or your spouse will go away, I promise. But it's easier when you're more optimized. It's easier when you're taking care of yourself. It's easier knowing that to be the best caregiver, the person you have to take care of the best is yourself. Because when you do that, you will be a better parent. You will be a better spouse. It's like Michael Jackson said way back in the day, right? If you want to change the world, you got to change yourself first. And that's hard as parents. I know, like we're all sleep deprived and stressed and everything else, but the key is to take care of yourself. If you can take care of yourself, you're not going to be as reactive. You're going to sleep better. You're going to feel better, and you're going to show up better for everybody else, but including most importantly, yourself.
Dr. Scott, you don't know this, but you basically just preached my whole like Sunday reset methodology that we talk about here every single week. So y'all, please do your Sunday reset. Just that one time a week where you figure out how you're going to pour into you so that not only can you be a better you, but you can be the best steward of what the Lord has gifted you with your spouse, with your kids, with your community. Like it really is, it's earth shattering and it's simple. It's getting back to the basics, which is really hard to do in our modern day of age. So that was such good wisdom, Dr. Scott. Dr. John, what would you say?
I would say slowing things down. So everything in our modern society, everyone is busy, even if from the CEO to the mom to everyone's busy. So like Dr. Scott was saying, is relaxing. And sometimes relaxing is taking a hot bath by yourself, getting in your car before you transition to your next space and leaving the radio off, turn off your phone or make it silent, wherever you are, be safe. But just taking that 5 minutes and just literally sit there and just kind of let your body decompress. And even if you have 1,000 things going through your head, I know that when I pull in the driveway, I will take 5 minutes before I go in the house from work because I've been going from thing to thing to thing to thing. And so very often my 5 minutes gets interrupted by a child climbing through my window or something like that. And they're like, "Can I honk the horn?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course you can." I mean, so
relatable.
But having that, yeah, exactly. And I love it. I wouldn't want it any other way. Gosh, I mean, I know that I've enjoyed both of you, interacting with both of you. And then Dr. Scott, I've learned a few things. So thank you for doing what you do. I appreciate that. And Heather, you as always are awesome. And thank you for giving us a voice to help other people. I don't know. It's pretty freaking awesome. You do a fantastic job and you have a great following. And I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to do this. So thank you.
You're the best. You guys are just the best. Thank you so much. Dr. John, tell everybody where they can find you if they want to connect with you to also be their either naturopath or chiropractor or what have you.
Yep. I have a team in Birmingham, Alabama. It is a natural health center. We have chiropractic, functional medicine, massage, neuroscience. I think I'm leaving something out. But anyway, you can go to archetype.health. And we're in Birmingham. I do have a telemedicine company. It makes up probably 30% of my practice, but you can do brick and mortar, come and walk in the door, let us see your beautiful face, or we can talk to you on the phone.
Yeah, for sure. And you guys, obviously I just met Dr. Scott in person for the first time today. Well, on Riverside on our podcast recording platform. But one thing that my father-in-law, Kurt Brown, that I've had on the show before always says is that good people refer good people. And I know that Dr. John is good people and I've trusted him with my healthcare for many years now. And so if he's recommending Dr. Scott and what Dr. Scott does, then I know that he is really great people. And so now my 2 little boys are home. And so I know that Dr. Scott and Dr. John are going to get back to their life with their full families. But just hear us say that we're all busy, but we all love people and we want what's best for you today. And so we just ask that you would maybe take that 5 minutes out of your day, sit in your car, be still, and think about what little change could you make today that could impact not only you, but your family. We are so loved. Have an awesome day. And I'll see you back here next Tuesday. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye. Y'all know I'm obsessed with all things optimal health. as clearly evidenced here on the podcast. Well, let me tell you about a new company and supplement line that I feel is truly going to change the face of not only our health, but also aging. Enter the crazy and amazing world of peptides. I know you've heard a ton about pharmaceutical kinds, the Ozempics, the Wegovy's of the world, all kinds of crazy with the results that people are getting, but also scary in regards to the possible side effects. What if we could get the same results with a peptide that was made in nature instead of a lab? That's where Make Wellness comes in and their line of bioactive precision peptides. You want to be leaner? You want to be fitter? Want to be more hydrated, more energized, focused, all of the above? I am literally obsessed with these, you guys, and I know you will be too. This is the future of where health is headed. Everything is linked in the show notes, so make sure to check them out. I think you're going to be just as obsessed as I am. Okay, friend, that's a wrap on this week's episode. If you're not already following me on Instagram, make sure to screenshot this episode, share it to your stories, and tag @healthy_by_Heather so I can connect with you in my DMs. It truly brings me so much joy to see how these episodes impact you. Make sure to subscribe so we can see you back here next Tuesday for our weekly show. In case you don't know, your downloads, ratings, and reviews are the actual lifeblood of this podcast, and it helps spread the word to your friends and family. So please hit the download button on this episode and leave a 5-star rating if you super loved it. And if we're really BFFs, you'll spread the happy and text this podcast link to someone who needs to hear it today for some encouragement. Scroll down to the show notes on this episode to see any and all links mentioned, freebies to fuel your health goals, prior-related episodes, and the 7-day free trial of my exclusive membership where I personally coach and cheer you on in whole health. While you're there, make sure to check out my Amazon storefront with healthy snacks, my favorite look for less workout outfits, and books and devotionals that challenge me in my faith. If you ever need to find my Amazon storefront, just Google Healthy by Heather Brown Amazon and it will come up. Have a great day, girl gang.